Welcome back to the countertop. I keep all of my YouTube stuff on a separate hard drive. I have files on that hard drive that are titled with the name of the video or the subject the video is about. If I have multiple videos on a playlist, then there are folders inside of a folder. Sometimes I'll record a video, download all the files into a folder, edit the video, and upload the video to YouTube Studio all in the same day. Other times I'll get an idea for a video, but I'm really not set up to film it. So I'll go ahead and create a folder, put a title on it, and then maybe start populating it with files like links to websites, pictures that I think might make a good thumbnail, maybe some video footage I have at that particular moment, or even a Word document with notes that I can use later. Sometimes I get back to those folders in a matter of days, weeks, or months, and I'm able to go ahead and finish up the project and get it onto the studio. And other times, I just sort of forget about them. I just never get back to them. From time to time, I'll go through the hard drive and I guess do an audit, and I'll look for old projects that I just haven't completed to decide whether or not I want to try to revisit this or if I want to just delete it to make space on the hard drive. Recently, I came across a folder that I created back in 2019. I looked at the footage that I had in there, and it was just terrible. I thought I might be able to salvage it, but in the end, I decided it wasn't worth it. Instead, I'm going to reshoot that video now with better equipment, and I'm going to add something to the video. So the inspiration for that video and this reshoot comes from one of my YouTube friends, Rick Mitchell. His channel is called Rick's Life as I See It. I'll include a link to his channel at the end of this video. As some of you may know, Rick is a butcher by trade, and he had a segment on his live show called Cut of the Week, where he would explain things about cutting meat or talk about why different cuts of meat have a certain name, or maybe give some cooking advice, or even advice on what you might be able to use as a side with that particular cut of meat for a meal. And I really thought that was helpful because, as some of you may know, I suck at cooking. I'm terrible at it. I'm even worse at grilling. The local mom and pop grocery store where I live has a much better meat department than the large chain grocery stores in this area. And they have a cut of meat there that I don't see at the larger stores called a ranch steak. I will buy them from time to time because I think they're a good value. They're a decent cut of meat, a decent sized steak. I think they taste good, and they're a fair price. They're not a T-bone, but they're not a round steak either. And since I really don't know a lot about this, I asked Rick, what is a ranch steak? So he answered that question. Here's a clip from his live show where he explains what a ranch steak is.
I don't think he's here today, but last week or Wednesday, Squib Load asked me about a ranch steak. Well, I looked it up to make sure it was the same thing that I thought that I would sell as a ranch steak, and it is. Some people call it a rancher steak. I used to call it a ranch steak, and actually, basically, what it is a boneless shoulder steak. It's basically what it is, right? Now, it can be. I mean, shoulder is pretty. It's fairly tender. It's not going to be as tender as a sirloin steak or a T-bone or something like that. But for a piece of meat that comes off the forequarter, it's not bad. But what you do, you only cut it an inch thick at the most. And the best way to cook it is, as I mentioned this once before, like with the chuck steaks, I mentioned this last week, is you marinate it overnight in something. One recipe I saw was marinate it in red wine overnight. But basically, you want to marinate it in something that's going to has an acidy component to it, and that breaks up the fibers. Put it overnight. Put your salt and pepper, what it seasons on it, whatever you want to put. Throw it on a very hot grill. 3 to 4 minutes, one side. Flip it over. 3 to 4 minutes the other side, pull it off, and eat to your heart's content. I mean, it's not gonna melt in your mouth like filet mignon, but it will cut nice, and it has plenty of flavor. I mean, it's not gonna be chewing it like eating shoe leather. It's palatable. It's not bad, actually. So that's the cut of the week for this week.
In the original video, I followed Rick's cooking advice and I grilled up some ranch steaks that were marinated in wine. However, the steaks didn't turn out well. I didn't get the grill hot enough, and my wife likes to have her steak well done, whereas I'm okay with my steak being rare, well done, medium rare. It doesn't matter. I'll eat steak. Steak is steak to me. So it really didn't turn out as good as it could have. Like I said, guys, I suck at grilling. I do. So I decided this would be a good opportunity for me to revisit this. I'm going to marinate some ranch steaks in red wine, the way Rick said, but I'm going to also include a review of an inexpensive California red wine. So here on the counter, I have a Cabernet Sauvignon from Woodbridge Winery. Woodbridge is owned by Robert Mondavi. However, this is their more affordable line of wines. This is more of their everyday kind of wine. And I thought an everyday kind of wine would marinate an everyday kind of steak, like a ranch steak, really well, or even pair with it really well. So I'll read some information about this wine from the Woodbridge Winery website, which I'll include a link to in the description section below. The aromas are listed as cherries, berries, cedar, brown sugar, and toast. Toast. That's a first for me. Flavors are listed as berries, toasted marshmallow, chocolate, graham cracker with a caramel finish. This ought to be interesting. When I started reading this, of course, after I bought the wine, I thought, I don't know if this will marinate well, but I'm willing to do the experiment and find out. The thing is, though, just reading all of that's a lot of smells and tastes to try to take in at once. So it seems to me like, just reading the description, this wine is kind of overly complicated for an everyday kind of wine. Before I open the bottle, I'll give a description of it. There's a maroon seal at the top, and it's got the Woodbridge logo, which is kind of a W shape. At the bottom of that maroon seal, it's got the word Woodbridge right there on the neck. The white label on the front says Woodbridge, established 1979, and it's got their W-shaped logo, California, Cabernet, Sauvignon. It's 13.5% alcohol by volume. It says that in really small letters here on the side of the front label. On the back, it talks a little bit about the winery and the flavor notes, as well as having a website to the winery, and then all the normal warnings and whatnot, and it does contain sulfites. All right, off camera, I use my EDC pocket knife to remove the seal from the neck, and I've got a corkscrew in here, so let me go ahead and remove the cork. So once I asked a French person how they serve and drink wine in France. He told me that they let it breathe for 45 minutes. If you let it breathe longer, that won't hurt it. They serve it at room temperature. They don't chill it. And they either pour it out of the bottle or they serve it from a glass or ceramic pitcher. I'm not going to let it sit and breathe for 45 minutes. Since it's an everyday wine, I mean, this is under $10 a bottle. I'm going to go ahead and pour some in a glass right now to try out. I don't want to use too much because I'm going to be using this to marinate the steaks. All right, so I'll start off with the smell test, which might be a little bit difficult because I put it in a squib-sized wine glass, so I'll have to really stick my nose in here. Okay, berries, maybe cherries. I'm not really getting anything else. Definitely not toast. Now, I do have a poor sense of smell, but to me, this just smells like ordinary red wine. Yeah, it just tastes like ordinary, semi-dry red wine. This isn't too bad. I think this would go really good with steak. This isn't the best red wine I've ever had, but it's not harsh at all. It doesn't have that chemical aftertaste I get with some wines. It's just a good overall red wine. I would recommend this, even though I'm not getting the caramel finish or any of the other flavors that they say is in this. So now let's get to marinating the ranch steaks. All right, so here's 3 ranch steaks in a glass Corningware tray. So they're almost an inch thick. These are about the thickest ranch steaks that I've bought at the local grocery store. Normally they're a little bit thinner than this, but they're never thin. All I'm going to do with these steaks is just poke them with a fork to just put some holes in them to allow the wine to kind of get in there. Now it is rattling around a little bit on the counter, but when I shot the original video, I had it on the stove top and it was really rattling around. And when I hold it, it's even louder. I've got the lapel mic this time around though, so that might handle some of the noise. Better camera, better mic, but still not a better cook. All right, now time to add the wine. So I'm just going to pour it over the top. I'm not going to try to have these things swimming in wine. I am putting more in here than I did last time. So in the original video, I used a Cab Zin from St. Clair Winery in New Mexico. That's a really good wine. As a matter of fact, I should do a review video on that at some point. But I don't think that it is as good as this for marinating because it is a little bit sweeter than this. So I think maybe this time around the steaks might turn out a little bit better. Now, in the original video, all I used was Lowry seasoned salt and Lowry seasoned pepper. This time around, I'm going to use a little bit more than that. So I'll put some seasoning salt on the top here. Just going to spread it on there. And I'll put some Lowry seasoned pepper. All right, next I'll flip the steaks. Then I'll add just a little bit more wine, just pour it on the top of each steak. And then on this side, I'm going to add some onion powder and grind some black pepper onto it. You can season it with whatever you like. I'm keeping it really simple. Then I'll cover this and put it in the fridge overnight and grill tomorrow afternoon. Today, while grocery shopping, I found Woodbridge Cabernet Sauvignon in a 1.5 liter bottle. It was on sale, so I decided to go ahead and buy it. That way we could enjoy this again with another meal, or maybe I might use it as a marinade again. I was thinking about trying it with venison. I also found it in box wine. Box wine, you know, where they put the plastic bag inside of the cardboard box. I know it's more economical, but alcohol doesn't belong in plastic. I'm just saying. You can see here, it was on clearance, probably because nobody wanted that shit. All right, so I decided to put my wife's steak on early because she likes hers well done. I've got the Cabernet Sauvignon from yesterday that was chilling in the fridge overnight, so Let me go ahead and tell you what I think of it chilled. It didn't affect anything. It didn't affect the taste. This is just really good, everyday red wine. Some people like their wine chilled. I don't care if mine's chilled or room temperature. I prefer room temperature, but I'll drink it chilled. So either way, I would still recommend this. All right. Time to flip this one. Put these on. Add a little bit of that red wine to the top. And cover it. All right, it's been 4 minutes. So I'll go ahead and flip these. So I pulled my wife's steak and it is well done. I've got one steak still grilling, but the other one that I pulled after 4 minutes on either side is medium rare. And it's delicious. I'd just say that next time maybe I might want to add some more salt. So Rick, thanks for the cooking advice. Thanks for the grilling advice. And I'm kind of glad that I took the time to reshoot this video. I know it's been kind of long, but this is much better than the one that I shot in 2019. Thanks for watching.